Hi there, I'm just going to quickly go over an example for short division or the bus stop method, and this you probably want to use around the end of year 2 or the final term of year 2 and gear up for year 3 and onwards. Um, Normally within year 1, year 2, so the whole Key Stage 1 framework, what we do with division is we speak about halves, quarters, and then when we start to explore bigger numbers, so 2, 5 and 10, nice easy numbers that generally divide into several numbers, we use arrays as a supporting method, or we use counting mediums like bears, for example, and unifix cubes. And all this is basically is just an example of how to kind of manage that transition from using all of those mediums, so using physical, practical things, to actually building up to just doing it on paper with algorithms. So either this method or long division or the column method. So what I would do is, firstly, this is an example here, and I've just got picture representation. So these are blocks. You could use sweets, you could use bears. I've just chosen block because it was easy. And then the first thing that I would do would be to get somebody, one of my students, to count how many blocks are there. So for example, let's count. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know that I've got 10 blocks, 10 sweets, 10 whatever it is. And then this is where your teaching input comes in. What do you want to divide that number by? At first I would give them the number, so I know that 10 divides into 2, I know that 10 divides into 5, so those are one of the numbers that I would give. When it comes for them to explore it themselves, I would say choose your own number. So, just to start off as an example, let's divide them into groups of 2. So, again, this is for them to do, not for me. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? I've got 5 groups so far, but just to confirm it, I want them to circle it. So, as you do with using arrays, circle how many groups of 2 do you have? Okay, let's count to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you sure? Yeah, so I know that I've got 5, and therefore 5 is my answer. Let's go back. Now, I would challenge it and say, right, can we divide this into groups of 3? Let's see. And this is where the experimentation and the investigation kind of develops children. And it's about them, you're supporting addressing their misconceptions, but ultimately it's them that are doing it. They will be able to physically see that, let's do this. Let's see, can we divide 10 into groups of 3? So we've got 1 group of 3, we've got 2 groups of 3. No, it doesn't. I've got 1 that's left over. I personally wouldn't introduce the concept of a remainder right about now. Circle that. I wouldn't introduce that, but I would just explain to them that it doesn't. So therefore, 10 cannot be divided by 3, so it's something that we can't do. The whole point of this method really is just to support them in the actual context of what they are doing. They are breaking 10 into groups of 2, groups of 5, or groups of 3. The number up here, they are pulling it apart into groups. Or, similarly, what we're doing is we are finding how many times this number can fit into the number above. So whether it's 10, 20, 18, whatever number it is, you want to see how many times this can fit into that. And it's just about using picture mediums or physical mediums to support it. I've done it on the whiteboard. Obviously, what you could do for the table activity is you could use a generic whiteboard, and then you can use, bears, sweets, unifix cubes, any kind of, you could use pencils, anything really. And obviously, you get the children to count them. How many times can they make groups? How many times can you make groups underneath? So yeah, that's pretty much how I would do it, and it's just an example of one of my lessons. This will be online if you want to download it, but I'm sure you'll be able to do it yourself. So yeah, enjoy.